What's up, guys? I am starting off my very first vlog. So what my plan is for this is to record a video every single day for at least, 5 minutes and put something up there every day and work towards doing more open source stuff. Now, I have a lot to thank the open source community for. Pretty much everything I do since I got into programming has been related to some open source software for as long as I can remember, and it's amazing. I got into Python and Ubuntu Linux and Django and Ruby on Rails and Ruby, and that's what I do now. And I live and thrive on all this open source stuff. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is starting a vlog so that we can go through this journey together. I want to do a lot more open source work. And if you check out my GitHub page, you can see the graph of open source commits over the past year, actually. So the longest streak I've had is actually 5 days. And that was 5 days last year. That was almost a year ago. Yeah, it's been a long time. Not quite a year, but like 9 months or something. So I haven't done enough open source work, and I want to do a lot more. There's a lot of repositories that I've created, and I've worked on a lot of different things, but I really, really want to take this and do more with it. There's a lot to share, and I know a lot of people learn from it, and I want more people to get involved with open source because it's amazing. So without further ado, let's get started by trying to figure out what we're going to do first in open source. So where should we start with open source? I mean, ideally, I would like to be contributing to Rails core, and that would be really awesome. We have Rails GitHub up here, and there's 350 open tickets, which is a lot. That's a good place to maybe start looking for potential places where we could contribute. The other thing that's really interesting here is there's almost 500 pull requests, which is weird because normally every pull request has an issue attached to it, I thought. But yeah, so that means that there's almost 500 people asking to say, hey, I wrote some code for Rails, please include this. That's a lot of outstanding things, so a lot of these are probably sort of controversial or maybe not the best thing to include in Rails. So this may be very hard to get started in. And it might be that this first day we kind of browse through some of these open tickets and decide, is there anything we can contribute to, or can we maybe dive into something else? And I've opened up Devise here because potentially Devise has much more useful or manageable issues. So Devise has 15 issues and 8 pull requests, which is much, much easier to get involved in. And these are a lot simpler, actually. So jumping straight into contributing to Rails may not be the best idea. And worst case scenario, if we don't find anything interesting in Devise, I've created a gem called Simple Calendar that could use a lot of work. Refactoring that would be really awesome. And there's a lot of things I think it could that could be improved in it. And it's got a reasonable amount of forks and people watching it. Quite a few people use it. So maybe Simple Calendar is what we decide. And I think just this episode, the first day, let's just decide what we want to work on. I use Devise in pretty much everything. Rails, of course, is used more, but Devise I use a lot, and I really like how it works. So let's just browse through these open issues and see what we got. These two views are not protected against format. When requested with unintended format, so asking for JSON of the password new or password edit, they should raise unknown format instead of missing template. That seems fine. It also seems kind of like a thing we should probably leave up to the maintainers to decide. It's kind of doesn't really matter. It's not like a useful feature. It's kind of like just a little bug that maybe is just a semantic thing that is not really too interesting. Testing the project against Rails 4.2.3 RC1 might be good. It doesn't look like many people have done this, and maybe it's worth upgrading like Go Rails to 4.2.3 RC1 and testing both that and Devise. Looks like nobody's really done it. These two guys are maintainers on Devise, so maybe this is something we can like jump in on. I don't really know. We probably need to look at what changed in 4.2.3 RC1 because that's kind of the important piece. Like the changes here would affect the things there. So this is changes since 4.2.2. Maybe there's active model changes. Nope, no changes. Active record. Let with queries be explainable. N+1 query problem with eager loading nil associations. That's interesting. It's an error which would occur in dirty checking when calling update attributes from a getter. Some of these active record ones might actually affect the way that Devise works. So maybe checking your active record associations and making sure they still work would affect it. Maybe there's some view related things or active support. Nothing interesting here. Yeah, maybe this is something we'll do. We'll maybe upgrade Go Rails to 4.2.3.1 and see. Today is the 24th, and they're looking for releasing this tomorrow, so we kind of don't have too much time to like fiddle with this, and we probably won't be able to help them too much. It seems unlikely that we'll run into any issues. Undefined method ago for 1800. Provide a sample application. Yeah, looks like that one's kind of different. Redirect the loop when using authenticate and routes. This one seems sort of well documented. So I have an admin model, and I'm trying to use it to authenticate access to Sidekick with Devise's authenticate method. So this authenticate method I've actually worked with in the past, and it's really cool. In Devise, normally you put the before action authenticate user in the top of the controller. You can actually move that to your routes and use an authenticate block, which is actually really cool. And they seem to be wrapping this around Sidekick's web interface. And it seems like, according to this bug report, when you use that authenticate, now it tacks on /admin/signin. And this is generated from the authenticate thing. But it looks like what is happening is this adds it relative to the URL. So it tacks it on the end instead of putting it and replacing the whole URL. And it should be localhost 3000/admin/signin. So it looks like a recent bug has done this, and he actually pulled out the pull request that broke it, which is very interesting. And the pull request was a workaround for mountable engines with Rails 4.2. Well, for one, hearing the word workaround at the beginning here is kind of not a great sign. This may have been a bad patch or a bad hack or something. I don't really know too much about mounting Rails engines or how that works. This could be something we can dive into, but seems like it's going to be over our heads, and we would actually need to understand this previous issue well before we can fix this one. And yeah, it's kind of maybe a more complicated thing. Here's another one, another basic post of that same issue. Users can spam one another with confirmable. One of our security researchers at bugcrowd.com pointed out this. As a user, given I try to change my email to a different one, I don't click on the confirmation link. And another user creates an account with the email and confirms it. I'm still logged in. This is kind of complicated. Very interesting. So you can resend your confirmation instructions. So what happens is your original email address when you sign up with this bug, you sign up for that. So chris@gorails.com. Maybe someone else, or maybe I decide to change my email to something else. And maybe that's your email address. And so what it has is I'm still logged in as my old one. It knows the new one, and it won't switch them until I confirm it. And it means that in between then, you could sign up with your email address. And then I could send, so there'd be me and you, and I'm trying to change mine to your email. And then I can just spam you with these emails, like resending the confirmation email. It seems like really convoluted and probably low priority. I imagine they're going to fix it, but it doesn't quite seem like anything we want to work on. And it's also been around since April, so it's not anything that they're going to like really put on the high priority list and get fixed. And, you know, in the last 30 days, there's only been a handful of things left. So I think we're going to leave devise alone for now. I didn't see... Rails is overwhelming to get started with, and we'll work our way into it. I don't want to really start there. So let's actually just call it here. Call it quits for the day. We're going to work on Simple Calendar, and I'm going to outline tomorrow what we're going to work on. And then maybe we can set this up so that we can outline all of the to-dos, and then other people can get involved in working on Simple Calendar with me. So maybe we'll just make this into a community project. It needs a lot of work, but it's a good start, and it produces calendars like this if you're using Bootstrap pretty much out of the box, which is cool. So yeah, let's take a look at that and see where we can go with it. Seems like a good plan. Peace.